that they can't hear me, or they can't hear you, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully we'll make it through without any technical difficulties on YouTube.
Already, that's not what I wanted to show. Oh, yep. Okay, I'm already doing the wrong windows here. There it is. User error for me this time. It wasn't a technical error, just user error. All right, what's going on, folks? Welcome to the Tuesday night edition of the Weekly Narrative. You have located the correct stream. No, we haven't gotten banned yet permanently, although we have gotten banned multiple times off stereo. We're going to see what happens with stereo today. We are running the stereo again, and I'm going to laugh my ass off if we get banned again, because that's going to be great. I got, we got Osis Dari, Stalking Horse, Arian in the chat. What's going on, guys? No, I did not run out of Dr. Pepper Cream Soda, because I now live in Texas, where there is a surplus of Dr. Pepper Cream Soda, zero sugar everywhere. So if you got one, crack it open, and let's get started.
I just got regular.
That's okay. At least you got Dr. Pepper. What's up, Holly? Welcome. We got a pretty interesting lineup for you today. That it contains no COVID stuff. No COVID stuff. We're going to do a no COVID show today, because I think we, honestly, we pretty much covered all there is to say about COVID at this point on the last show. So if you want to get our stance on anything COVID related from beginning to end, it's all entailed in the last show. We've talked about all the studies. We've talked about everything. It's over, folks. It's over. We're going to be talking about the kids today, okay? Because the kids are screwed. We got some stories to talk about how the kids are screwed. Some pretty scary ones, actually, that especially for the older folks in the chat, they may they may see some of these stories and think to themselves, man, how different my childhood was. Because we're going to be talking about the Boy Scouts, and we're going to be talking about Little League baseball. Okay, things that little boys like to do. Coincidentally, those are what are being targeted by the left. So we're going to talk about what's happening with the Boy Scouts and Little League. We're going to be talking about UC system ceasing to use SAT and ACT scores for their admissions. They got sued because SATs are racist. And yeah, no, that was kind of a shocker to me as well. It's for people who don't know, the UC system is probably the biggest college system in California, probably the biggest purveyor of propaganda and of brainwashed zombies coming out of that state. Per capita, they've got like 6 universities there, so it's not one little dinky university where it's not going to have much impact. We're going to be talking about pharma executives laughing at you. Okay, so we're not going to talk about COVID necessarily, but we're going to be talking about Big Pharma, which really is the story behind the story. It's almost as if COVID is kind of a smokescreen for, looking at Big Pharma. So we're going to talk about Big Pharma and and some Texas news as well. So let's get started. You ready?
Cool.
You ready, Delaney?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Let's go. All right. Intro video now.
Stroke the ego a little bit.
She will enjoy the simping, but she is a lesbian, so good luck with that.
It's not going to get you anywhere.
Not that it's stopped any guys these days. I mean, guys these days will simp for pretty much anything online, so that's really it's a rough state. It's the men are in a rough state in today's day and age, and it's going to be stuff like what we're talking about that will tell you why, because we're destroying masculinity from the earliest possible age educations, Boy Scouts, any kind of things that guys like to do, right? We're destroying it. Let's see. Oh, Stalking Horse says Israel/Hamas is filling in until they ramp up climate change. Yeah, I want to address that actually. The Israel-Hamas thing is probably the most boring story on the planet to me. I'm just not interested at all.
I think I'm not gonna lie, it's been filling up my Instagram feed for the past week, and I just lose interest in it entirely as well. Like it's just something that has been going on for so long that it's just kind of like, oh, okay, again, here we go. Like, why are people getting up in arms about this again? Like, they've been fighting about this for generations now.
Well, it's the fact that the subject matter itself isn't very interesting. It's old and it's repetitive, but also the discourse. We saw right before we got banned last week, we had somebody come on here to demonstrate the level of discourse that happens around the Israel-Palestine debate, and the extent of their argument was "Free Palestine." Free Palestine, and that's about it. That's basically all you can ever get out of people with the discussion when you have something like that. Yep. They're either all in on Israel or all in on Palestine, and that turns me off to any kind of actual discussion. I can't even ask, hey, what's the details behind the situation in Israel? Because all they're going to say, free Palestine. That's all they're going to say, so I'm not even interested at all. So,
yeah, me neither.
What's up,
How
Doug?
about we free Palestine from Hamas? That's what I say.
Could do that. I do find it interesting how celebrities, and especially female celebrities, are chiming in on Twitter about we all free Palestine, and Hamas is great and all this kind of stuff. They're not saying that, but they're kind of saying that. And then people coming in and saying, well, if you were over there, you are a female porn star, they would basically stone you to death, in case you weren't aware of what's actually happening over there. And there was a great video clip of a guy who was at, I think it was a Free Palestine parade. I don't know what country it was. I think it was somewhere in England. He was carrying a rainbow flag with some language on it. I don't know what it said. Probably said pride or something like that. And he got accosted by two actual Middle Eastern men, Arab men, with the Palestine flag. And he's like, hey, I can imagine they were saying something along the lines of, yo, we don't like that pride stuff. Get out of here. That's degenerate.
Right.
And he was getting a little dose of reality, which I did think was entertaining. But that's about the extent of the entertainment that I get from the Israel stuff.
Yeah, I saw these groups of spaghetti people holding a banner that said gays for Palestine. And I don't think that they realized that if they were gay in Palestine, they would be the ones that would be getting thrown off of roofs, or they would be the ones getting hung from cranes or stoned by their family members as a as a sacrifice or whatever, because they're living the lifestyle that they're not supposed to live. But here they are supporting the country that would definitely not support them if they were living over there. It's just people are just very uneducated about what's going on with that whole situation. And then the people who are educated are just kind of like me and you, are just very disinterested in having a discussion about it. Or if we do, it's just you get the drive-by, hashtag free Palestine kind of crap from people.
It's interesting to see, and this is what I would be interested in looking at. And maybe somebody in chat or stereo has an explanation. Maybe tell me, because I don't know. Why is there such an allegiance with the left with Palestine and Hamas? As Phil C. in the YouTube chat says, liberals love Palestine and Hamas. Yeah, why? What is the it's almost like they have an instinct. They're born, even though they know nothing about it, like a bird, it's born, it hatches out of its egg, but it knows to fly off the branch, even though nobody told you about it. So what is this allegiance? That's what's interesting to me. So somebody can explain that. I'd be interested in having a conversation about that.
Where do you think they get their terrorist tactics from?
Yeah, maybe. Doug says, I'm with you, Jeremy. The happenings over there aren't really my business. I don't have much interest in it either. Yeah, that's also kind of why I'm not interested in it, because just on a principle basis, I'm not interested in foreign affairs that much. So... let's see. YouTube is getting a little hiccup, it looks like, at least on my end. But you know what? We're just going to power through it. Everything looks good on my side. We got a stereo comment that came in. Let's jump to that before we get into the stories of the night. In it.
Yeah, my favourite show on stereo is back in action.
Yeah, what's
You're
up?
back from the gulags of stereo. I love it. You can call me the male British correspondent.
I like it.
When what's her name? Penny
Miss
Feather or
Moneypenny.
whatever her name is.
Yep.
Ain't here. Yeah, I hope you have a good show. I'm tuning in. Let's get it going.
Let's do it.
Hell yeah.
Welcome back, man. Glad to see you. We do appreciate your comments, and we love the accent too. It's always great to have, the worldwide crowd here. Let's jump into the first story of the night. This is a big pharma story, and if you didn't know, big pharmaceutical companies are being sued right now, and as part of this litigation, I had to think of the proper L word to use there. I almost said legislation, but we will be talking about legislation later. Big pharma execs are mocking us in their emails, and we found out about this because they are in the middle of a trial, and we have access to this information for the first time ever. This is from Neoscope, Futurism.com, one of my favorite sites because I love futurism. Pharma execs mocked rural opioid addiction in newly released emails. Horrifying emails show the pharmaceuticals industry's contempt for rural American pillbillies. Pillbillies is what they're calling them. Yeah, that's pretty bad, right?
That's a new term.
Yeah, no, they're very creative over in the big pharma industries there. And for some reason, we don't really talk about how the opioids are destroying America right now. Is it opioids or opiates? I'm not sure on that. I'm not a pharmacist myself, but I know that there is a difference between the two. I think one is synthetic and one is an actual plant extract. I'm not entirely sure, but at least I'm aware of my ignorance on that. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell you the difference. I think they're the same thing, but I'm not that smart either.
Nobody's talking about it, and it's kind of strange to me. This is why this is strange, because simultaneously we have TikToks and YouTube videos and social media stories coming out of people who are like almost pathologically in supporting these big pharma companies. They're like, my buddy sent me a video yesterday of I think it was a TikTok of a kid who had like a cartoon filter on his face jumping out of bed. You guys may have seen this one. He jumps out of bed and he's singing a song about how he's going to get this first vaccine. We've seen, I think last week, the week before, there were some viral videos about a couple on TikTok singing songs about Pfizer or Moderna or one of the two companies and how they love them so much and we're getting vaccines. That's going on. We have this weird kind of propaganda, pathological addiction to, or not addiction, but like love for these companies while they are actually killing us in massive numbers with opioids across America. It's almost like they want to try and cover it up because, I mean, the amount of people that they're killing is massive. And people aren't really aware of this. Anyway, continuing on from the article. A cache of horrifying emails show that during the height of the opioid crisis, pharmaceutical executives were hard at work mocking rural Americans who are becoming addicted to their powerful painkillers. One particularly disturbing message came from Chris Zimmerman, at the time a senior executive at pharmaceutical giant AmerisourceBergen, according to The Guardian. In an egregious 2011 email, so this goes all the way back 10 years. 10 years. They were laughing at us 10 years ago for the opioids that they were putting into the community, okay? Zimmerman responded with a cruel joke to news that Florida had finally cracked down on clinics that prescribed opioids with little scrutiny. Quote, "Watch out, Georgia and Alabama," Zimmerman wrote, adding that there will be a max exodus of pillbillies heading north.
Oh, wow.
Zimmerman and his colleagues' contempt for the plight of rural America's growing dependence on prescription painkillers is finally coming to light because of a trial in which AmerisourceBergen and several other pharmaceutical companies are accused of funneling the drugs into West Virginia at enormous human cost. Which is something that I was not aware of until I found this article. And likely you were not either. So now you know.
Well, I knew that there was a huge crisis going on the East Coast. I knew like Massachusetts and New Hampshire and a lot of like more northeastern states were affected by this, and I knew Virginia and some of the Carolinas were, but never realized it was that bad.
My lights just flickered, so I don't know if I'm gonna get a hurricane or what. Seems like a common occurrence here in Houston, but anyway, they called it hillbilly heroin, a common expression for prescription opioids, and they described Kentucky as OxyContinville. So they were very
Wow.
aware of what was going on, and they were probably having a great time, getting drinks and going to conferences and making a ton of money off this, as they still are, by the way, because I don't think
Driving their
fentanyl.
fancy cars.
Oh yeah, no, they're all driving BMW 7 Series and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think fentanyl was even being used that much back then. It was mostly predominantly OxyContin and stuff like that. But it's progressed significantly since 2011. I think we can all agree to that. Let's see. Holly says
Well, yeah, it's gotten to
opioid.
the point.
Oh, go ahead.
I said it's gotten to the point where people are dying in the streets from overdosing on these things, and it went from them taking the pills for their pain, and then they couldn't afford the pills, to them to going to heroin and fentanyl and doing it that way. It's bad.
Yeah, no, that reminds me. I got to show you guys a video, actually, as I pull this up. Holly said that heroin isn't, no, Holly said opioid is synthetic, opiate is natural. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. So the poppy seeds are natural opiate, and the heroin is the opioid. Okay, good. Now I know. The more you know.
So I like to watch these videos from time to time. That I don't know why YouTube recommended these to me, but for those on stereo, I'll try to describe what we're looking at. But I do recommend switching over to youtube.com/weeklynarrative to watch if you prefer video. People will take a dash cam or like a GoPro and they'll slap it on their car and then they'll just drive around downtowns. And I love to do this because you can see the real true state of what this looks like. Now, this is going to be indistinguishable from movies like Demolition Man or insert any dystopian movie here like Judge Dredd or anything like that. But just take a look at what we're looking at. This is downtown Philadelphia, Kensington Avenue at night. And we can see a gentleman on screen. He's hunched over. He's not moving. He's just hunched over at like a 90-degree angle. Two of them now. There's two of them. They're just hunching over. And this is what the opiates will do to you. They basically make you turn into a like sleeping instantly kind of thing, where you just can't do anything. And this is what fentanyl and this kind of stuff is doing. Now, those people who are in that state on the street like that, they probably start out with something like OxyContin, but then they're given something that may be laced with fentanyl or just straight up is fentanyl because they want something that hits a little harder, and then they end up like this guy on the street who's just, I don't even know what you would call that. He's not standing. He can't stand, but he's not sitting. It's halfway between sitting and standing, immobile. It's almost as if he's paralyzed.
He's nodded. He's nodded off.
Nodded, yeah. That's a good way to put it. So that's
yeah. And there's just there's just tons of videos like the one that you're showing casing now of just people just doing it in the streets and nodding off in the streets, falling asleep in the streets, and then sometimes they fall asleep and they just die because they stop breathing and nobody's there to give them any kind of CPR, any kind of anything to get them back breathing and get their heart going again. It's quite sad.
Yeah, no, it's pretty bad. Phil Cease, try refreshing. I don't think the stream is still going as far as I'm aware, but maybe you just need to refresh your page. So yeah, it's a health problem that progresses to dependency, as Dari puts it in the YouTube chat. Well put. That's how these things generally start. You get prescribed OxyContin for your blown out back, and then you progress slowly to something a little harder. We had a stereo comment come in. Let's jump over there.
Yeah, so I've been trying to figure this one out for a while. Like, why do the left always side with terrorist or like proper terrorist organizations such as Hamas? Now, the only conclusion I can think of is that when we were being raised, obviously, Israel is almost like part of Western society, and as we know, as we clearly know by now, it's beyond a shadow of a doubt that leftists are suicidal. They all they want to do is tear down everything that is remotely connected to Western traditions, Western ideals. Western norms, etc. And unfortunately, Israel falls into that chopping board. You can name 100 other countries that are 10 times worse than Israel, but they will not attack those countries because they are not aligned with the West. And that's the only narrative that I can think of.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man.
Well-
That's the only thing I can think of as well. Is because they represent all the Western values. So by default, they're going to go against anything that is Western, even if it includes a society, a culture that will actively promote killing gay people for no reason other than they're gay, marrying and having sex with children, inbreeding, which is rampant over there, by the way. People don't know about that either. Marrying your cousins, stuff like that. They just love. All of a sudden, they love that. If the enemy, if what they're fighting is the West, then oh yeah, give me more inbreeding. I love that. I love stoning gays. Wait a second, I'm gay. How does that work?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's cognitive dissonance. I have a headache. I can imagine that's how their world goes.
I think the YouTube is having a bit of trouble, Jeremy.
It looks good on my end. I have a headache. Yeah, you guys maybe just need to refresh. Stop scaring me, okay? Every time you guys put that in chat, I'm like, oh, God, we got banned again. Now I'm all green on my end, okay, guys? All green here. Stream is up. And Susan is not knocking on my door yet.
Yeah, I told them to try refreshing in the chat, so.
Let's see. Dari says...
Yeah, like I...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, my take on the whole Hamas thing and why the left worships them is because, like I said, where else are they going to get great terrorist tactic ideas from, than Hamas? Hamas is great at all that stuff.
Well, they just they got to get a source for missiles that they can indiscriminately launch into the rural suburbs of America, because that's what they hate.
Right?
They can't launch missiles into the cities. That's where they live. That'd be kind of funny to watch, actually. They just kind of launch bottle rockets into the woods. Just hope they hit something. Let's see. Yeah, okay, yeah. There's some mixed reports of how YouTube is acting for people, but just try refreshing, and I think it'd be good.
Yeah.
So, anyway, back to the opioid stuff. You're going to continue to hear nothing about this, even as we transition into the global warming stuff. Even though this is happening in the background, and there's more people being killed every year than I think were killed in Vietnam. So, it's just one of those things where, oddly, the left, who has been so anti-corporation and anti-super rich people for so long, in this particular case, in the one case where there is a massive story for it to be covered up, they love big corporations and they love big pharma. That's the distinction that I wanted to point out with what's happening with the big pharma situation. And big pharma probably is towards the top of everyone that runs this. I mean, big pharma probably has more power than Google, YouTube. Fox News doesn't want to say anything bad about pharma because guess what kind of ads you see between, Hannity and Tucker for, sleeping pills and blood pressure pills and all that kind of stuff. Every single
If
TV
you
show.
or someone you know suffers from diabetes, it's always diabetes commercials.
That's interesting too. It's like if somebody suffers from that, like you're gonna be, hey Billy, I saw a commercial where they got a drug for your heart condition. Has any friend ever gone to somebody they know and be like, Delaney, I know you have this issue and I want to talk to you because I saw a commercial. They're getting people to advertise for them.
On TV. Yeah, that's how it works. That is literally how advertisement works. It's not like the most effective advertisement is word of mouth. And how do you get words in people's mouths? If they're watching TV all day, then showcase it on the TV, and then they'll use their word of mouth to spread it to their friends. It's it's quite an ingenious tactic what these advertisement companies have done.
What's up, X-Pimp, my sniper? We got Luke in chat. What's up, Luke? Welcome back, man. We're just talking about Big Pharma and the massive discrepancy between their actions and how they're treated in America right now. Everyone who hates corporations loves Big Pharma, despite the fact they're killing more people than Vietnam War every year. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out because, you know what? I have to admit, guys, it's been kind of a slow news week, okay? I'm having to try and scrape together these stories and talk about stuff that's not COVID related, it's a little tough. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about you guys, but if you're not watching the Israel stuff, there's really not much going on. So, by the way, if you have any topics you want to talk about, go over to weeklynarrative.com. You can put a post there, and we can talk about it here on the stream, or you could just drop it in the chat, drop it in the stereo, etc., etc.
Drop it like it's hot. Drop
Yeah.
it like it's hot.
The more work I can offload to you guys, the better. Okay, I'm trying to automate this as much as possible, and struggling to pull up my show notes here as well. Okay, so let's talk about this one's fun. Actually, I like this one because we've been talking about the anti-Asian American hate that's been going on for the past like 6 months, and I don't think they got the memo that we all figured out that it's only black people attacking Asians, and but they've continued to try to pass legislation for anti-Asian American hate. So yeah, they're a little behind. They're not aware of what we know. So Congress passed a bill to fight hate crimes versus Asian Americans. This is from AP News from yesterday. Now there's for some reason they've got a picture of a zombie next to a Stop Asian Hate logo to advertise it. Maybe oh no, sorry, that's Nancy Pelosi. Apologies. From the Washington, Congress approved legislation Tuesday intended to curtail a striking rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, sending President Joe Biden a bipartisan denunciation of the spate of brutal attacks by black people that have proliferated during the coronavirus pandemic. I put a little bit in there because they forgot to put who was actually doing these attacks, so I just want to make sure that everyone's aware. It's not white people, which is how they want to phrase it. So I think it's fair that if they editorialize this to make it sound like white people are doing it, I can editorialize it just a little bit to put the truth in there, right? So
editorialize their editorialization.
Yeah, this is how this works. Okay, the bill which the House passed on a 364 to 62 vote. That was can you guys hear that thunder? That was awesome. Will expedite the review of hate crimes at the Justice Department and make grants available to help local law enforcement agencies improve their investigation, identification, and reporting of incidents driven by bias, which often go underreported. Now, there's a very interesting thing in here. This is kind of a test. So those of you who watched this and you watched us cover all these anti-Asian hate crimes that were done by black people, you're going to pick up on something. There's going to be something in here that you're going to pick up on that's not going to make any sense, or that should throw a red flag for you, okay? So let me reread that last sentence. The bill will expedite the review of hate crimes at the Justice Department and make grants available to help local law enforcement agencies improve their investigation, identification, and reporting of incidents driven by bias. So what is the trick? You've been watching us. What's the trick that they're using? I'll give you guys a couple seconds here. So all the stories that we talk about, there's one thing consistent with all these black on Asian attacks is that they do not get tried as a hate crime.
No, why would they?
Which ones are the hate crimes? The ones done by white people. That's basically how they define it. I think it's in the definition of hate crime, actually. I've never read the definition, but it seems like the way they apply it, white people is in the definition of hate crimes, because we've talked about dozens at this point, black on Asian hate crimes. And I think only, from my memory, one or maybe two max were ever actually being tried as a hate crime. So they passed this bill thinking that they're being sneaky. They think, oh yeah, look, we're going to make them think that we're doing something. But in reality, none of those even get tried as hate crimes anyway, because black on Asian, nobody cares. So this is another way. Remember what I gave you the guys the boa constrictor analogy? Every possible chance that they get to constrict a little more on white people, if you exhale just a little bit and you leave a little bit of room for the constrictor to constrict a little more, this is it. Even though we all know that all these attacks, they also know. I was joking when I said they don't know, but of course they know that all these attacks are done by black people. However, they're still using this as an opportunity to squeeze the white people, and that's exactly what's going to be happening here. So now, you think the increased attention on hate crimes is going to be limited to only Asian stuff? No. Anytime a white person does anything against anybody, they're going to use this to expedite the processing of that. So just keep that in mind, okay? They used a fake situation that was fake from the start, and they blamed Donald Trump further down the article. We'll get to that. In order to constrict white people even more. So. Yeah, people are saying YouTube's having problems. We just got to power through it.
I'm having problems with YouTube too. And Arian's complaining that my camera is shit when it's not my camera. My camera's actually pretty good.
That's fine. You know how we do it. We just power through it. Let me take a quick glance over at my restream to see what the status there is, because everything on my end looks good.
It's that damn thunder that's going on in your area, Jeremy.
Yeah, no, I don't think so, because my internet's tip top. Yeah, restream says it's fine. No, restream says 10 frames per second. OBS says 30 frames per second, so it's either on restream's end. It must be on restream's end. Yeah, I'm pumping out 13,000 kilobits per second, so it's a restream problem if it's any problem. So there's not really much I can do about it, unfortunately. However,
well, they're blaming the fact that we just started talking about hate crime stuff, that they're going to throttle our stream. So, which I think might be true. I mean, still haven't gotten kicked off of stereo. We're talking about white people.
The whites. Yeah, I know.
The whites.
Yeah, it's rough. It's a rough go these days. I mean, Steven Crowder is in the middle of a lawsuit with YouTube for, this kind of stuff right now. They're censoring him left and right, and I am definitely curious to see how that's going to turn out, even though I think it's futile. And he must have a lot of money to be able to actually sue Google, actually.
Yeah, he's got some money, but I don't know if he's got enough money to go against, these tech giants that have way, way, way more money than he does.
Somebody's got to do it, though. And that's kind of the point, is that they're going to keep doing it until somebody stands up and finally puts some kind of incentive for them to discontinue that behavior. And whether that means they reformat Section 230 or what, they're not going to just do it organically. So you got to give it to him. He's doing what needs to be done. It's just, it seems like a David versus Goliath type situation,
Yeah, it definitely is. Same thing with what's his face, James O'Keefe, going against the New York Times and suing them and all these other publishing companies, or the legacy media companies. I mean, kudos to him and kudos to anybody that goes against these guys, the tech giants and the legacy media, because it's an uphill battle. But like you said, somebody's got to do it and stand up for the rest of us and stand up against them, because they have been spreading nothing but falsehoods and fake news, and they get away with it. And it's time somebody says, no, you can't do this. Like, journalism is dead because of you people.
Well, journalism is dead. Even if they reformed that, journalism's dead anyway, just because of these incentive structure behind the profit motive. But that's also interesting. It's kind of, there are some places where capitalism does kind of screw things up a little bit. I do love capitalism, but you can't withhold valid criticisms from it. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic here as YouTube tries to restart. By the way, I checked again. Everything looks fine on my end, and on Restream, everything is showing 30 frames per second, and the bit rate is good. So it's either YouTube or it's my ISP. In which case, in both cases, I could do nothing about.
Right.
At the mercy of the gods right now.
Susan Wojcicki, we're at her mercy.
Damn it, Susan!
Damn it!
The
Let us stream.
the stereo people are still here, though, so the show must go on for them at least. Our next story comes from CNN, and this is where we get into the root of what we were talking about today. We're talking about the kids, okay? Because it's always about the kids. Anytime something bad happens,
kids.
You do love kids. Anytime something bad happens,
I love kids.
It's all about, think of the children, right? They're always used as the impetus for change in America, and the same thing with the Israel stuff. Look at all the children that are dying. Same exact thing. School shooting happens. Think of the children. Take the guns away. But in a preemptive strike on the children, it looks like the Black Lives Matter people and the Marxists are going after them directly before they're old enough to even get to the point to where they can critical think for themselves.
Oh no.
Boy Scouts of America shows support for Black Lives Matter and will require some scouts to earn a diversity badge. That's right.
Oh God.
Diversity badge.
Oh,
And
okay.
That's for I was never in the Scouts myself, but I do know that Eagle Scout, I think, is that the highest one?
Yes.
So, yep, Eagle Scouts are required to earn a diversity and inclusion badge now.
Oh,
So
wow.
normally, I think, is that the highest one? You'd have to do things like tie knots, start fires, wrestle a grizzly bear. I don't know what they do in the boys. Actually, I think girls are allowed in now as well. So this isn't the first assault on the Boy Scouts, but beyond that, now that the girls are in there, we have to sneak in some diversity and some inclusion. So this is where we're at.
This is sad, especially since I have a family member he's not in the Boy Scouts, he's in the Cub Scouts, so he's in the rank below the Boy Scouts, and it's quite baffling because one, their troop has a girl, and two, their troop also has multiple little boys of color as well. So it's how are they not diverse and inclusive? This is nuts to me.
The organization, which has also condemned the deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor. How does that make any sense? Why you're condemning the death of... Anyway, virtue signaling said it has not been as brave as we should have been when it comes to calling out racism. Previously, they said they will also examine their own role in perpetuating racism. So somehow, the Boy Scouts are perpetuating racism. Now, if this is along the same veins, the same intellectual integrity as those arguments that we used to hear about, well, not used to hear, but we're hearing, not very loudly because they are very stupid. I think even the people saying it know they're stupid. Things like the outdoors are racist. National parks are racist because there's not enough black people going out to Yellowstone. Hiking is racist because mostly white people do it. This is the kind of stuff that we're hearing, and I'm imagining that that's how they're justifying calling the Boy Scouts racist as well. Just random stuff that just because blacks aren't doing it in the exact proportion that they represent in society, that there's some kind of racism there. It's definitely nothing about, emergency alert, National Weather Service, tornado warning in this area until 10:15 p.m. Take shelter now. In the basement or interior room of the lowest floor of a sturdy building. If you are outdoors in a mobile home or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter. Here we go. This is why I moved to Houston. Tornado warning means there's actually a tornado. So...
Jeremy, don't get sucked up by the tornado and go to Oz.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna push it through. I live in a brick house, so until the windows shatter, then I'll run down to the lowest story of the building.
Holly says, congratulations on your first tornado warning, Jeremy.
Yes, I've only been here for a week and I'm already getting tornadoes. That's awesome. More weather in 1 week than I've had in Sacramento in 3 years.
Escaped the cesspit of Sacramento to go to Tornado Alley in Houston.
Hey, it makes good YouTube too, right? You heard the vibration of my phone, so you know I'm not BSing, right?
Yep, I heard it.
Anyway, back to the Boy Scouts.
Well, and
Let's
also,
get
well, I was
to the
gonna say,
real
and also
news.
your internet connection is kind of showing it too, which is weird because like when we're on StreamYard, you and me, there's like no lag, there's no nothing. But
No.
YouTube, it's just yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
that's a good point.
shit. It's just taking a dump.
It's a good point. It does point to a YouTube issue. Let's see. We got a comment that came in from Stereo here. Paul.
You'll be fine, Jeremy. I've slept through tornado warnings. I saw the damage it did in Fort Benning. Took down trees like basically toothpicks. You'll be fine because it won't hit where you are.
Yep.
Inshallah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Paul. Yeah, I think he'll be okay too. But it's just hilarious.
My parents are freaking out right now if they're watching this.
I know your poor mom. She's probably like, no, not my boy.
They
Take
build these
everybody
houses.
else's boy, but not mine.
All right, this stupid tornado derailed the show and the internet. See, they're trying to do anything they can to derail the weekly narrative. They'll send internet problems. They'll send tornadoes. There's going to be a hurricane in half an hour. They just want us to stop talking about this stuff. That's what it is.
How much you want to bet that weather control system that is being used to stop your stream right now is owned by YouTube?
Oh, man, weather control system. That's great. Yeah, I know. They're like, crank it up, send it over. We can't turn off his internet. Send a tornado.
Send a tornado. Specifically to Jeremy.
Oh, man.
They found you, man. They found you.
Paul.
Just to be clear, inshallah, God willing. God willing.
Indeed. Inshallah.
For real.
Continuing on, let's see if we can figure out some more about this Boy Scouts thing. It seems to have gotten quieter outside, so I'm not too concerned. The Boy Scouts of America stands with black families and the black community because we believe that Black lives matter. Oh, how brave, courageous, just stunning and brave.
Yeah, stunning and brave.
Unbelievable
So
that
brave.
this company, the Boy Scouts, they stood up against all the resistance out there, all of the pushback, and they said Black lives matter. So brave. This is not a political issue. It's a human rights issue, and one we all have a duty to address. It's not political. It's not political.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not political at all, but it really is. That, oh my god, like I don't understand how they're gonna how they are planning on doing this. Like they should, instead of supporting Black Lives Matter, why not try to get more black boys and girls into the Boy Scouts if they really like want to do something. Like, this is so stupid.
Well, again, that's probably the basis of their argument for the Boy Scouts contributing to racism, is because there's not as many black kids in it. So.
Well, that's not Boy Scouts' fault. That's their parents' fault.
Right. Arian says, Jeremy, be a man, stand your ground. Tornadoes are for beta males.
Yeah, stand your ground, Jeremy, against that tornado.
If it's anything under an F5, I'm not even getting out of my chair. Come on, let's be honest.
His house will be like swaying back and forth. He's like, "It's fine, you guys. I got this."
Oh, man. The organization said it's banned the Confederate flag for nearly 30 years, but it'll review property names, events, and insignia to ensure the symbols of oppression are not used today or in the future. Symbols of oppression. So, some of those badges they use might have like a little eagle on it, or something in the shape of like a Nordic rune that could be Nazi infiltration of the Boy Scouts, where they're trying to brainwash you through runes. They
definitely don't want you getting mind controlled by that damn eagle.
They also say we will continue to listen more, learn more, and do more to promote a culture in which every person feels they belong and respected and are valued in scouting, in their community, and across America. Jesus.
Okay, well, might want to work on hiring people in your organization that don't molest little boys too. That might help too.
That'd be a good start. We don't want to talk about that though. That's a little hard to address. We could just say Black Lives Matter, and then we're actually doing more. Yeah, by their logic. So I just what can you really say about this? The Boy Scouts are gone. Boy Scouts were a thing where men could. So here's the thing: if you want to get into like biological, societal, what's the word for when you study humans, human history, and stuff like that? There's a word for it. Obviously, I didn't go to school for that. But when you study societies, you see that traditionally, for long periods of time in every society, men, boys, have had to go through rites of passage in order to become men. Okay, now, I would argue that the Boy Scouts was potentially one of the last remaining remnants of something approximating a rite of passage. Because what does the Boy Scouts do? It sends you as a boy out to go learn how to survive, how to learn skills that you normally don't learn when you're living a soft, pathetic life in your suburban town. But they've taken that. It's almost as if they identified that as exactly what it is, something that makes men stronger, and then targeted it for destruction, because now it's completely gone. It's gone. There's no way. So what they mean when they say make it more inclusive and like equal for everyone is that, oh, well, Trisha, who's actually a boy but identifies as a girl, she's obese, so she can't climb the hill. So we're not going to climb hills anymore, and the hill climbing badge that we used to have, we're just going to get rid of that, and there's going to be one badge where it's like, you exist. Good job, Johnny. You successfully existed. Good achievement. That's kind of what this is going to turn into. They're going to eliminate all versions of meritocracy. They're going to make everyone Eagle Scouts, probably. They're just going to be like, hey, do you want to be an Eagle Scout? And they didn't do anything. They don't even know how to tie a knot. They don't even know how to start a fire. They're going to give them the Eagle Scout, because if they don't, well, that's racism, right?
Yeah, they're going to get sued for discrimination, even though, like, in order to get to the point of being an Eagle Scout, you have to go through all kinds of different stuff. Like, I remember in high school, there was a kid in my grade that was in the Boy Scouts, and he was trying to become an Eagle Scout. And I asked him, I was like, what do you got to do to become an Eagle Scout? And he's like, dude, I got to get like every badge, and I also have to like perform an active, have to perform like a good act or good deed for my community. So he like built fences for his neighbors. I was like, really? And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, it's no joke to become an Eagle Scout. And yeah, you're right. What they're trying to do, they're trying to make us weaker and make us all dumb and make us make meritocracy go away, because meritocracy is too hard. Earning stuff and becoming smarter and better is too difficult. Let's just give everybody everything and not earn anything anymore.
Nope, that's where everything is going, because that's not fair. It's not fair that Timmy can earn an Eagle badge and Louis can't. Anthropology, thank you. That's what the word I was looking for. Thank you guys in chat. Those of you who
Timmy. Timmy the no-arm cripple boy can't earn any badges, so we want to make it easier for him to earn badges, and but we don't want to cut arms off of children, so we're just going to make it easier for everybody to get badges, so that way Timmy the no-arm cripple boy can get a badge.
Exactly. Well, I'm glad some of you guys can at least still see the stream, because I can't even watch my own stream. It's just
I can't watch it either.
But some people can still hear us, so that's good. Anyway, that means we have to get, if there's more than 0 viewers, we will carry on, because tornadoes, internet problems, censorship, we don't care. What do you got
the
next?
Show must
What's
go
next?
on.
Bring it on. Whatever's next. Come on. Watch
right?
a meteor like lands through my
hurricane, meteorite, aliens.
Oh man, that's funny. Oh, this is interesting. So this is the last little bit on the Boy Scouts. Then we'll move on to the next story, because we got a good segue already into that. Boy Scouts didn't fully integrate until after the Civil Rights Act passed. A few Southern Boy Scout councils held until the 1970s, but the organization made way for the first black troop in 1911. Okay, so guys, they've been letting in blacks for over 100 years, and we're still going to call them racist.
Well, the thing that makes it racist, Jeremy, was it's an all-black troop. They weren't integrated, so there wasn't like an intermixing of the races until the 1970s, and that was just in the South.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, so that's what they're trying to point out.
Troop.
It's like,
okay,
so what's wrong with it? So what's wrong with it being an all-black troop? Like, shouldn't males like kind of learn from other males that look like them? I thought that's what the left wants, right?
See, that's where I misinterpreted troop as an individual. I didn't know that meant like a group.
Yeah,
so
a troop is a
group. That makes more
group.
sense. Okay, gotcha. The Scouts were still met with racism, though. The organization defined black Scouts as special troops based on their race and considered them less than. according to the African American Registry, an educational nonprofit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure every African American registry or historical institution is going to take the worst possible spin on history. And, I mean, that's what we're seeing with, like, the 1619 Project, right? Everything was way worse than it actually was for blacks. And we do that so that we can infantilize them in the modern day era.
Be like, look at what happened just less than 40 years ago. They were treated less than and looked down on. And it's like, okay, but what about what's going on right now? Are they still looked at like that? That's what I care about. I don't care about what happened 40 years ago. Like, yeah, like we learned from that. I care about, are we still doing that, or is that still going on? No, then why are we still talking about it?
Yeah, well, that's why. And we talked about reparations a little bit last episode, but this is exactly why they can never define reparations, because they can continue to milk these tragedies, these inequalities of the past into eternity to get the power that they need, the power that they ever so desire. We got 2 comments that came in stereo.
Uh-oh, someone spoke out against the woke gods, and therefore you're going to get sucked up into the clouds, bro. Mate, God's coming for ya. See, the thing is, over here in Britain, we don't get hurricanes because God don't shit on his own doorstep. You know what I mean? No, I'm sure you'll be fine, mate.
Yeah, well, he'll survive. He's a strong dude, and he's not stupid. So if it really did get bad, he would not be there. But I'm in California. The only tornado I've ever seen, it like was a tiny little one, and it touched somebody's house, and then it was gone. So it's fine.
Probably just one of those, equality tornadoes where it wasn't even a funnel cloud, but the weather people were like, well, it identifies as a tornado, so put out the warning. And then everybody gets a message on their phone. Paul.
Just gotta point this out. Delaney is a little quiet on stereo.
You got it. Pumping her up.
I was going to say. Yeah, pump me up.
You are pumped out to max now. If anything, I'll have to lower my own audio at this point. But let me know how that sounds.
Maybe you should just speak quieter, Jeremy. God, let the woman speak.
No, I have to bring some equality into the vocalization here. Equity, equal vocalization. So that's, the kids are screwed. And speaking of the kids are screwed and the death of meritocracy, let's bounce over to the UC story. This one's interesting because I just came from UC, and actually, fun fact, I did work at the UC system for a little bit.
Oh,
when I first moved there, yep. So, University of California system will no longer consider SAT and ACT scores for admissions. So, what do they judge their admissions off of? Like, hey, like a checkbox, are you a retard? And then you say no. And then you don't get in, and you say yes, and then they just get you in immediately, fast track, or they just look at the race, or how do they even? How do we have standards? Okay, this is the death of meritocracy and the death of competence. We talk about that all the time. This is another symptom of the death of competence. We can see our schools, the institutions which are supposed to be taking the smartest of us and making us even smarter, turning us into people that will create, innovate, take us to the next level technologically. Those are being destroyed. Now we're not gonna get the guys who are the smartest. We're not going to amplify them. We're gonna amplify. Well, it's not even amplification anymore. Really, it's just indoctrination. But we're gonna take just the idiots. We're gonna take a random sampling across the board, and then subject them to our propaganda. Let's see. Let me swap over to the YouTube comments here real quick. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. How long until they accuse Boy Scouts of cultural appropriation for using bow and arrows? Exactly. See? That's what we're saying, man. It's all downhill from here. They're going to look for every single little thing they said. That's what they said specifically when they mentioned looking for symbolism or other ways that they're perpetuating racism. Anything related to Indians, Native American stuff is going to be gone for sure. Luke says we use compound bows, so we are historically I think they are safe. The natives could not figure out compound bow technology. Douglas Masters, I remember at Boy Scout camp as a 90s kid, they implemented a totem pole into some kind of ceremony. Oh yeah, no, totem poles are gone, dude.
Yeah,
Completely gone.
Gotta exit out the totem poles because that's sacrilegious to them.
So yeah, Luke says, so skin color is the only requirement? Probably. That's kind of what we're getting
I would
at here.
say ding 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 ding. That's probably it. Probably your GPA and your skin color, but more about your skin color than your GPA in some cases.
Okay, yeah, that's right. GPA is still like the last performative metric left that they have to look at for admissions, and that probably won't be being used for much longer either.
Yeah, they're going to go, okay, well, your GPA is only a 2.3, but your 2.3 GPA and your Native American, so you get in, it's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. Now I underestimated the count of how many UCs there actually was. It says there's 9 campuses. The 9 campuses of the UC system will no longer consider standardized testing scores as part of their admission process beginning in the fall of 2021. So basically, as of right now, because school's out and the next semester or quarter, I think they go by quarters, the next quarter starts in fall. The change is the result of a legal settlement. A lawsuit brought by groups that claim that the traditional SAT and ACT scores are
racist.
Under the settlement, the university, which enrolls some 225,000 undergraduate students. Okay, so when I said not in some little dinky university, this is the major source of propaganda zombies coming out of California, the mutants. This is the main source. Said it won't consider SAT or ACT scores along with admissions until 2025. Interesting. Okay, why 2025? The university further stated it had no current plan to reconsider the scores after 2025. The settlement specifies that the university can still use SAT and ACT scores to determine the course placement after the students are accepted, but the 9 campuses will no longer use test scores to determine how to award scholarships. Ooh. So,
oh, wow, okay.
You know what scholarships are based off of, right? Like 90% of scholarships? Your skin color and
your heritage.
Parts. Your heritage, your parts, your body parts.
Your socioeconomic status.
So that as well, exactly, yep. So we're going to get poor people. We're going to get, I think, there was a stream we did a while back, a long time ago, probably like number 13 or something. And we looked up if you go to any scholarship website, you can look up the scholarship categories. So they have them by race or ethnicity. And you can look at the black list or African American, and there's hundreds. I think it's scholarships.com. Go check it out right now. Fact check me right now. Go look at the black scholarship list, and then they have one for Caucasian. And there were like 3 or 2 when we looked, and it wasn't actually even for Caucasian people, because you can't actually do that, right? That'd be kind of it's racist to give people to people that are white just because they're white. It was actually just like anyone who's German or anyone who's from Estonia or something like that, something stupid. It had nothing to do with actually being white. So obviously there's an imbalance there, and this is only going to further deepen that imbalance.
Well, I mean, it's kind of it's going to be really bad because we're already seeing in the UC system people graduating with degrees and not really doing anything with their lives, and then they get all this debt under their belts, and they're not even graduating with like A's and B's. Most of them are just barely graduating and barely getting their degrees.
Yeah.
So imagine that we're gonna no longer use the SAT or the ACT. What is it, to determine where they get placed in their college courses? So imagine these people coming in without their SAT or ACT scores, and they get placed in a lower level college. So they're forced to go to college instead of going for 4 years. They're going for a lot longer because they tested really low and have to start out at like high school level stuff because they didn't really get good grades in high school. to be able to go to college, didn't go to like a junior college. So it's going to set people back even farther, not being able, like not accepting or not really basing people's merit in the UC system off of their ACT or the SAT scores. Like, this is going to be bad. This is going to be really bad.
It's a huge blow to meritocracy and competence. So,
Yep.
you know, the downstream effects of this is where it really counts. Who cares about the fact they're doing this right now? It's not going to have any effect immediately. This is a thing where you have to have a long-sighted perspective on life and on societies to understand the impact of this, because exactly like you said, we're going to be, and it's not even, they think that we're doing these poor people and these stupid people a favor, but it's actually even worse, because what's going to happen is these stupid people are going to come in, they're going to get a degree in something that's not economically viable, and then what are they going to do? They're going to be in a ton of debt. So now these stupid people are in debt. It's not like capable people with a degree in debt, it's stupid people in debt. So it's almost as if they're intentionally trying to collapse the system. You know, they know that 20 years from now, if they implement this widespread, they can legit get, you know, like college forgiveness, debt forgiveness passed at a federal level, because there's just going to be so many retards running around with $300,000 in debt that they will have no choice. But the intellectual impacts of not allowing the greatest among us, the intellectual powerhouses, to strive, you know, we're gonna fall behind countries like China.
We're already falling behind, and this is just going to set us back even farther. And like we said last week in the stream on Saturday, California kind of sets the tone for the rest of the nation, and what we implement in our state kind of like tend to trickle to the other states if the other states are stupid and want to follow California's lead. So if we implement this into our UC system, what's going to stop, you know, Nevada from implementing it in their system, and Oregon and Washington and all these other West Coast states? Like, honestly, like, this is going to be a big mistake. Like, I've always tried to like recommend to people who maybe didn't score good on their SATs or ACTs. It's like, instead of like having your sights set on going to UC Davis or Berkeley or Cal State or any of these like UC run colleges, why not go to junior college, get your general stuff done at junior college and work your way up, so that way you are prepared for what college has in store for you, instead of just diving in head first into a UC system and then realizing like, oh crap, this is way harder than I thought, and then getting in debt for tens of thousands of dollars, and not setting yourself up for success at a UC. Because just because you go to a UC or a really good college, it's not going to set you up for success in life unless you actually have like the understanding of what to do with what the UC can offer you.
Yeah, and we're still under this kind of spell, this like fake idea that college is the only path forward, and that really needs to die. They're perpetuating that. That's what's creating this urgency to get into college in the first place. That's why anybody cares about getting into college. You shouldn't care that much about getting into college, because there are so many other economically viable paths that aren't going to put you in a ton of debt. You know, get into the trades. That's going to get you, like, dude, my older brother is in the trades. He makes a ton of money, and guess what? No debt.
I have a friend that I play online games with. He's a plumber, and he makes tons of money. He makes money hands over fist. Like, I used to do bookkeeping work for an HVAC company, and I saw the kind of money the HVAC technicians were making. Like, y'all, like, you don't need to go to college for lesbian dance theory to be successful. You can definitely go to trade school, become a welder, become an HVAC technician, become an electrician, become a plumber, become a mason. Like, for crying out loud, there's so many other job opportunities out there where you work with your hands. It might not be a clean job, but at least it's a job where you are making something and doing something that has purpose.
Right.
Yeah. Osis in the chat says HVAC don't get paid enough, and I agree, they don't, but they do make pretty good money depending on which company you work for and the kind of mindset that you have for yourself.
You'll make more than you would with a gender studies degree making lattes at Starbucks. I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah,
that's about
definitely.
all you'll get with that. It's not even. At least there's a demand for HVAC jobs. You know.
Yeah, there's always going to be a demand for it, especially here in California with how hot our summers get and how, depending on what part of California, you know, how cold our winters get. There's always a demand for people wanting their furnaces fixed, their air conditioners fixed. You know, there's apartment buildings that hire HVAC companies to just do mass, you know, installations on their buildings. Like, there's always demand. Same thing with electricians. If you're a good electrician, there's always going to be a demand for you anywhere you go.
You know what's funny is the D Live is working just fine.
D Live's good, but
Yep.
YouTube is just taking the dump.
It's YouTube. Yep. So they're just
Susan's after us.
they're just trying to anything they can. They're like, the tornado didn't work. It missed him. Throttled him completely. They don't have the technology to really control where the tornadoes go yet.
Release the tornado.
Anyway, yeah, the YouTube completely blown apart. So I think, some guy named Beer and BS just followed over on D Live. He says, never seen a virus create its own cure. Only cattle willingly go to the slaughter. I don't know when that comment was left because I just pulled up the D Live right now, but it's a good point, man. Definitely have to agree with you on that. I think we should call it because the YouTube is gone. But let's just go on stereo. Let's kill the YouTube, kill the stream, and go to the stereo for a while because the YouTube stuff is completely destroyed. So for anyone who is still listening on the YouTube, hop over to stereo if you want to continue listening. We're going to talk for a little bit there and wrap up the show over on stereo because that does seem to be functioning fine. So we'll see you over there, okay?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay. Join us, please. We love to listen to you guys.
All right. And next time, no tornadoes. I promise.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Well, you can't promise anything with Texas weather. I mean, y'all had that ice storm a few months back, and now you're getting tornadoes. What's going on over there?
That's true. I don't know. Who knows? All right. Let's go to stereo. We got 3 comments stacked